Real life conspiracy theories. That is what we are talking about today, okay? I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Conspiracy theories are fun, okay? I understand we are in a current turbulent time right now where there may or may not have been an island, where there may or may not have been a man with a lot of, may or may not have been adults with a lot of may or may not be super powerful people. I understand we're dealing with a lot of allegeds today, and I just want to keep it like slightly lighthearted. That's what last week's was when we went over weird conspiracies. And then in this one, we're going to be covering conspiracies that actually just turned out to be things. Like they just happened. Believe it or not, every once in a while, with a shot in the dark, you might hit a bullseye. At the end of the day, that is what we are going to talk about today for educational purposes only, YouTube. Okay? We are going to be going throughout history and conspiracy theories that actually turned out to be true, because it does happen every once in a while. Whether it's Operation Paperclip, MK Ultra, or one of my all-time favorites, the Chiquita banana. You know what, bro? Let's just do Chiquita banana. We're going to explain what Chiquita banana was getting into during the 1970s, which was absolutely wild, to the point that the term Banana Republic actually comes from this incident, okay? But that's my hook to get you to the end of the video. And another thing, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 250,000 subscribers before the end of the year. 500,000 before the release of GTA 6. This is Ethan on Everything, where we talk about everything. We have a lot of new content coming out. We have a lot of how I would you survive series over like the Raccoon City outbreak, other stuff that I think would be kind of fun to talk about. I just want to yap about stuff that I find interesting. That's the whole channel. Okay, and with all that out of the way, let's get into real life conspiracies that turned out to be true. Let's go. The Manhattan Project. Now, all of these are being ranked on how, like, surprised I am that they turned out to be true. I know that sounds weird, but, like, let me give you an example. The Manhattan Project is a great one to start with, because it's like, brother, of course it is. Of course they were trying to make a super weapon. Why not? Brother, I'm sorry. Literally every single world power that had the faculties to make a wonder weapon. Okay, in Germany, I think they call it a Wunderwaffen. It was something like that, bro. Just sorry. The German language is so blatantly unserious. And I say that with love to my German audience, but like, I'm sorry, dude. Sometimes I'll listen to like a German say something and I'm like, brother, that's not a real thing. Helicopter. Bro, what? Bro, what do you just say? I'm sorry, bro. You had a stroke. Stop it. Get some help. Okay, the point I'm trying to make here. Wait, what point was I trying to make here? Sorry, the Manhattan Project. It doesn't surprise me at all, bro. In Germany, they're making wonder weapons, okay? And that is where you get the Germany in 1940s was trying to make the Bell, okay? Do we know what the Bell was? It was implied that they were using some type of nuclear technology that they had, before I'm trying to figure out like an ad-friendly way to say it. They committed the great the great Holocaust, okay? They committed one of those, and it was no bueno at all. As it turns out, they actually lost out on like their #1 pick for the Manhattan Project draft, that being Albert Einstein, working with our boy that is I'm sorry, bro, he was a communist, Oppenheimer. That's another thing, bro. If you watch Oppenheimer, it's one of those things where it's like, how could the US government ever think that Oppenheimer was a communist? He was cheating on his wife with a communist. He was giving information to the communist. He was talking about how much he liked communists. Brother, maybe he was a communist. I'm sorry, like, there comes a point where I'm like, listen, are you serious? The dude that made a nuclear weapon, the biggest sin of his is that he turned out to be a communist? I mean, like, fair play, based, because I'm sorry, like, bro, we're going down some rabbit holes today. But, like, really? That's what you were surprised by? The Manhattan Project was an undercover project in making a nuclear weapon to help us win the war, okay? There was a few other weapons that were being played around with. There had the nuclear weapons. You had a few other classified ones. My favorite one is the bat bomb. For anyone who doesn't know what the bat bomb is, bro, we took, I think it was like 100,000 Mexican coyote bats, and we were going to strap napalm, not napalm, we were going to strap some explosives to them, and we were trying to airdrop that over Japan to end the conflict. And the problem is it was too effective, and they ran out of bats. That was the limiting factor. That's what we nearly did, okay? And it's actually a really funny story that I could cover later on. But, like, Manhattan Project came in clutch and was the intelligence version of the bat bombs, okay? That came in, and that entire time we were more or less kind of saying that we were doing excavation around America to make weapons for the front lines. That's essentially what we were trying to say. And then it kind of got turned into like a psyop where we were telling people, hey, a new cool weapon is coming out. Be ready, the war's gonna end. And then we did a lot of the excavation on Native American reservations. That's something they never bring up. A lot of the uranium excavations leave a lot of residue, and it kind of just destroys the local populace. So we did a lot of that on Native American reservations. One of those being a Navajo reservation. Let me just tell you something, bro. Brother, the Navajo got dealt such a bad card. Like, understand this, brother. Your boy loves America. I do. Bro, yeah, no, the Native American stuff. Like, if I had to keep it ranked with you, bro, some of the Native American stuff is done so dirty. I'm like, brother, I'm sorry, dude. That is probably the worst thing we've ever done. Oh, that was the worst thing we've ever done, okay? Like, I can give a pass for a few things America does, not the Confederates, but a pass for what America does. The Native American treatment's pretty effed up. I'm just gonna keep it 100% honest with you, okay? When we're looking at the Manhattan Project, the fact is, bro, of course we were making a wonder weapon. Literally everybody else was. But, like, yeah, we figured out how to split an atom. Triple the defense budget, baby! Operation Paperclip. I promise these are not all going to be in order, but it does kind of work out that way. That's kind of funny, actually. Not really. Operation Paperclip. Basically, it was seen as a conspiracy for the longest time that a lot of the highest-ranking German no-no guys, they got spared of the Nuremberg trials in exchange of helping us win the Cold War. And one of the conspiracies is that they said a lot of these high-ranking people in Germany were actually helping NASA when they were initially founding. And, you know what, bro? This is what I gotta say. They weren't just right. One of the founders of NASA is literally Wernher von Braun. Wernher von Braun is one of the most comically evil human beings I have ever heard of. Dude, like, and here's the part that actually, like, rage-based me a little bit. They had the audacity to say, after they had to come out with it, because it had to be made public eventually, well, these were actually the good Germans. They didn't want to follow. Brother, Wernher von Braun was, if anything, so brutal, other Germans at the time looked at him like, bro, he has issues, dude. Brother, don't piss him off. He might get you, dude. I'm sorry. That's crazy. That's crazy. Brother, his name is still on buildings, by the way. Get that out of here. You want to hear my hot take? My hot take is, whenever we're talking about, like, judging the past of the morals of the day, I think a lot of that's pretty arrogant based. I think I'm willing to give a lot of people in the past like a good, not a justification, but a pass for the most part. There are some people that I absolutely do not give a pass in history. The Confederacy, absolutely not, brother. You are a traitor to the United States. There's no other way to cut it. Like, we treated the Confederacy after the Civil War better than literally any other traitor in any other Civil War ever, dude. That's crazy to me. We were bigger people back then. Number 2, Christopher Columbus. Fuck that guy. Fuck Christopher Columbus, dude. He was so bad. And number 3, Wernher von Braun. Wernher von Braun can get it, dude. They would try him for crimes against humanity today. The conspiracy back then was that we recruited a lot of the high-ranking Germans. Yeah, that turned out to be 100% true. I'll be real here. That's wild. Like, here's the wild part. How long they lied about it is the wild part to me. It's not the wildest conspiracy out of World War II, because there's a few that are admittedly a bit crazy. But, like, if I actually... Yeah, I'll put it in that's wild. I think that's one of the more wild things I've ever heard. I think I'm going to put it there. MK Ultra. Now, understand this, okay? When you're dealing with conspiracy, I talk about MK Ultra quite a few times. And the truth is when we're talking about MK Ultra, this is where I get rage baited. Because people will say, oh, well, there's not a lot of documentation of MK Ultra. Admittedly, you guys are kind of filling in the gaps. And listen, bro, I'm not a big conspiracy guy. But can you actually be intellectually honest with me for a second? You want to know why we have to admittedly fill in a lot of the gaps of what happened with MK Ultra, which was admitted to, by the way. MK Ultra isn't the conspiracy. It was how big of an operation MK Ultra was. They admitted MK Ultra was true. You want to know why they had to admit it? Because when they were moving around files into a storage space that mysteriously got shredded, okay? One of the people that was moving around all the documentation of MK Ultra put it in the wrong warehouse. If it were up to them, everything that we know about MK Ultra wouldn't have been known. So let me get this straight. I'm supposed to trust the word of the people that admittedly were trying to get rid of any documentation that they were doing this? Well, why would they do anything like that? Dude, are you serious? Are you actually serious? Brother, the CIA funded $5 million into trying to do psionic warfare during the Cold War. I'm not kidding. This was something that this wasn't even the classified stuff. They were like, yeah, bro, we got to see if the psychic stuff works. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to put a psychic in a nuclear submarine, and then we're going to ask it where things are. What? We have psychers from Warhammer? We have that? No, we don't, actually. It actually kind of sucked. I know some people kind of glazed the report of it, being like, well, actually, they were pretty effective. I need you to think about this. These were coming from agents in the CIA that were incentivized to give the best possible report, because if they didn't, their funding was going to be cut. So I don't trust a lot of the stuff that they were putting forward. However, MK Ultra is one of those that I'm like, brother, the fact that you even tried this. And when anyone doesn't know what MK Ultra is, they basically dose people up with LSD and tried to do them some type of like psionic stuff. And they were trying to make a Manchurian candidate where basically they wanted to dose somebody up with a substance, do some level of hypnotism, and mind control. The entirety of MK Ultra essentially boils down to mind controlling somebody. That's essentially what they were trying to do. There's some weird connections with like the Manson family, but all of those are pretty loose. MK Ultra goes in, what? You did what? That would be my reaction if I was there back then. I'll put it right there. Operation Northwoods. Now this one's just depressing. Okay, see, back in the day, good old JFK over here, literally one of the most charming presidents to ever be. I would actually argue the last president that had absurd level aura. Obama had a little bit. I can acknowledge that. Obama had a little aura. I would say JFK was the last one that was just a motherfucker, dude. Okay, that's my hot take when it comes to JFK. Well, one of them. One thing that occurred while he was in office was the Bay of Pigs incident. The Bay of Pigs incident, essentially America was trying to get into a conflict with Cuba. This has all been admitted to. So they tried to do what was done later on with Chiquita banana, and which is kind of funny if you really think about it, that Chiquita banana is actually inadvertently connected to the Bay of Pigs incident, and we'll cover that in a second. But what essentially happened is that JFK didn't want a conflict with Cuba, stopped the air support from coming in for the Bay of Pigs incident. A lot of people that were higher up in realms of power during this incident were not happy with JFK. So they had another plan, which was called Operation Northwoods, and essentially what they were doing is that they were going to fly an empty airplane. It was an empty passenger airplane, and they were going to fly it between Florida and Cuba, and they were going to suit it down for a false flag event to get us into a conflict with Cuba. Keep in mind, there was a chance that that was actually going to cause a nuclear war. There was an actual plan that they were going to stage a false flag event. They were going to stage an event, blame it on Cuba, so we could go to war with Cuba. This is also, we had 200 assassination attempts on Fidel Castro. I need you to think about this. Like, I'm not saying Fidel Castro was justified. That's not what I'm saying. Fidel Castro was a monster. But at the same time, dog, we were actively lying to get into a conflict with them. Like, these aren't good guy, bad guy. Like, this was a situation where it was kind of like, yeah, bro, we kind of need to lie. We kind of, no, we're not doing that. We're not causing nuclear war because you want Cuba. Okay, I'm sorry, dude. You know what? Absurd, because in hindsight, that makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense. I don't agree with it, but it doesn't surprise me, sadly. So I'm going to put it in absurd. Big Sig companies were lying. Yeah, bro, this is one of my favorite pictures of all time because I like to do it in, like, group chats, being like, hey, yo, bro, you got my back? Would you lie on my name to protect me? Me for bro. For anyone who doesn't know what this is all of the big leaders of the Big Sig. I don't know if I say T, if that's going to see the T word that's going to get me. But I'm going to say the Big Sig companies, okay? These are all the big owners of those, and they are taking an oath during court that there is no addictive qualities to any of them. Brother, this is absurd level lying. And it actually turned out due to insider memos that a lot of them were not just aware, they actually undercut a lot of the addictive qualities of their products. And can I just be honest with you? Who's actually surprised by that? Like, I know at the time that was a wild thing, but like at the same time, dude, it's kind of wild that they like, you know what the wild part is? A lot of them got to walk this off. Like, literally just like, we didn't do anything wrong. Like, literally walk away. It's not the most egregious one, because that one I'm covering later on. I literally couldn't believe it when I read it. But, like, dude, this is one of those where I'm like, yeah, bro, that's kind of weird. But, like, are you actually surprised, though? Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, it's a literal multi-billion-dollar industry. And you're asking, like, obviously they weren't punished enough. But, like, I'm sorry. That it's just kind of weird, in my opinion. B. Grove. Okay, let me tell you something, bro. Okay? The idea that a bunch of super rich and powerful people meet up in private to discuss plans to like further enrich themselves in each other and make like a web of power that it like basically protects their interests at the expense of people lower. That's not crazy to me. Okay, the fact that they're speaking to each other, that's not crazy to me. The fact that this is a real picture of their hangout is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Let me tell you something, bro. This is like the elite version of the group chat got leaked. Okay? Like, imagine your employer pulls you in, shows you a picture of the group chat, and he's like, "Hey, yo, Jeremy, I wanna ask you what the fuck this is. What is that? Why did you say that? Let's read this. It's not what you think. I want you to give me the triple back sock combo with the driddle on top. Jeremy, what does that mean? Okay? It's stuff like that. Like sus, but like ultimately you could be able to walk that off maybe. Okay? The group chat dies with us, basically. Okay? If I showed you a picture of B. Grove, okay, and you were one of the people here, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is this? What is that? What do you mean you're burning an effigy in front of an owl statue? Well, actually, it was for a play. I'm not kidding you. That's actually the justification that they did. And here's the truth, dog. Obviously, 100%, bro. I gather with my homies in the woods all the time wearing cloaks and, burning effigies of people in front of what looks like Moloch, the owl god. I do that all the time, dog. Bro, it ain't a sig dig until you bring out Moloch. Okay? Moloch, the owl god, bro. No, Moloch is Diddy, okay? The original Diddy god. That's him. That's him, obviously, bro. Bro. Yeah, 100%. Dude, I do that all the time. Okay, yeah. Bro, what the fuck? The fact that that's a real picture is so funny to me. Like, here's the part. I'm putting it in That's Wild. It's not the craziest one. The reason I'm putting it in It's Just Wild is purely because the idea of them meeting up and talking is not weird to me. The idea that they're wearing cloaks and burning an effigy in front of a statue. And these are like bankers. Like, these are bankers, bro. Like, the Diddy parties made way more sense to me because that seems like, yeah, bro, I'll go to the Diddy party. I would never get invited to this. I would be roasting every single person. I'm getting got before I even leave, if that's the case. That's wild. I gotta put it there. The Gulf of Tonkin incident. Basically what happened is that there was a couple Tonkin incidents that occurred in the Gulf of Tonkin, which is off the coast of Vietnam. America wanted to go to war with Vietnam. There are insider memos that we wanted to go with Vietnam for years. Basically because we were worried that they were going to go communist, and this was during the Red Scare. This was during the Cold War. We were worried about Vietnam becoming communist and giving power over to Russia because Russia was helping countries. We were helping countries. And basically it was influence warfare the entire time. You had throughout the entirety of the Cold War. So we wanted to insert American interest in Vietnam and install democracy. It's essentially what we wanted to do, Super Earth. There was a few Tonkin incidents, but none of them were major enough to justify a conflict. But then there was another Tonkin incident where people want to bring up where a ship was sinked, and then it turned out that didn't actually happen. It just didn't. There was a Tonkin incident that was used as a false flag event to, guess what, get us into conflict with the Vietnam. So if you are a keen mind viewer, you would remember that Operation Northwoods was us taking down a passenger plane and using that as a false flag event to get into war with Cuba. So we did that with Vietnam. That's just something that we did. Like, bro, I love America and everything. I gotta keep on saying that. But, like, at the same time, I can't justify the Vietnam War. I can't. It is so weird to me that people bring up, like, draft dodging Vietnam as, like, an insult. And it's like, no. You wouldn't go. The most unjustified conflict we've ever been in? You want to do that? I'm sorry, bro. Gulf of Tonkin. It's I'll put it in kind of weird, but at the same time, dog, Operation Northwoods is a bit more egregious to me because they were going to do a passenger plane. This one was like, oh yeah, bro, a sip on the other side of the world you could get away with, but I'm going to put it right there. The business coup of 1933. Dog, this is one of the craziest ones I've ever heard. So, during 1933, when America was suffering through the Great Depression and we were leading up into World War II, FDR had something called the Green New Deal, which essentially was going to introduce a lot of social programs that were going to bring America into a better place before World War II. Some people have debates over what got us out of the Great Depression, the Green New Deal, or World War II. I personally believe it was World War II because that kind of more or less kind of set us up as like the de facto world superpower, and a lot of these other countries that suffered suffered a lot during World War II, like Europe, a lot of them became a lot more reliant on the U.S. after World War II. And I think that's what I think the Green New Deal helped. But I think World War II was ultimately the thing that got us out of the Great Depression, okay? FDR was going to do a lot of these things, and this was before World War II was coming into play, and a lot of businessmen were not happy with the Green New Deal at all, and they hated FDR. So I'm not even kidding you. They had a coup where they were going to take an army of, I think it was up to 100 to 500,000 veterans. And they were going to launch a non-violent coup to take FDR out of power and install a new person in power. Okay? And as they were doing this, they were talking about old generals from the Marines that were maybe disgruntled, and they came up across General Butler, and General Butler, which was still very pro-American, went to Congress, testified in Congress that these big corporations, like J.P. Morgan, by the way, were actually trying to get rid of, like, America's... and this is where it gets crazy to me. They wanted to get rid of the president of America and redo America's government in a style more similar to, I'm not even kidding you, Benito Mussolini of Italy. They wanted to replace the leadership of America with a dictator close to Mussolini. Okay? All of that gets testified in Congress, 100% confirmed. This is something that they tried to do. They almost did it. The only reason that it stopped is because Butler came in and testified. After World War II occurred, nobody got in trouble. Not one person got in trouble. What do you mean? What? The crazy part isn't that they wanted to do it. That's crazy. But that's not like actually mind-breaking. The fact that nobody got in trouble? Not one person? Bro, what? What do you mean? What do you mean their companies are still around? Brother, they literally tried to do a coup to make America into a dictatorship similar, in their words, to Benito Mussolini. And nobody got in trouble? I'm sorry, bro. Yeah. What? That's what I would say. That's what I'm saying. I gotta put it there. The Nestle baby formula scandal. Yes, this one was actually a conspiracy for a little bit. This is more on the corporate side. So, Nestle was trying to launch a baby formula overseas, and they wanted to target people in Africa. People that could barely afford baby formula, by the way. And they did a lot of marketing schemes that insinuated that baby formula was better for the baby than actual breast milk. And a lot of the people that admittedly were coming from very bad situations believed in this. And a lot of the marketing sewed Nestle as like a medical professional or a nurse sewing off the baby formula and said, hey, go, it's like medicine. It's really good for them. And then what essentially this did is all of the babies that were given this, not like the formula was not as good as normal breast milk and these babies were already doing fine. They failed to say that, hey, if you use this with contaminated water, which there is a lot of contaminated water in the place that you were trying to sell this baby formula, it could the baby. It could hurt the baby. And it did a lot of the time. Okay? And keep in mind, as soon as mothers realized that the baby formula mixed with contaminated water could actually hurt the baby, tried to switch over back to au natural. But they realized because they were using baby formula, it actually brought down their normal reserves because now their body isn't producing it at high enough clip. Brother, what a wild way that I just described that. So essentially what they did is they made these mothers dependent on a product that either wasn't going to work or it could actually hurt the baby. And they tried to say for the longest time, well, that's not on us. That's not on us. We have no clue why they actually thought that. Brother, it's your marketing! I'm sorry. Also, the CEO of Nestle has a quote where he believes water is not a human right. What? I'm sorry, dude. This is one of those where that's wild, but at the same time, it doesn't surprise me. But, like, it doesn't surprise me in, like, a black pill type of way. Bro, Nestle's pretty evil, dude. That's fucked up. Unit 731. Now, this one's not an American conspiracy so much. It's more of a Japan conspiracy. Because after World War II, Japan hit literally one of the greatest rebrands I have ever seen in the history of humanity. What do you mean? Japan went from thinking that Koreans were literally subhuman, so human rights didn't apply to them. That's how you got stuff like, you know, what happened in Nanking and stuff that happened on the countryside of China, where they were using biological warfare to take people out by the hundreds of thousands, okay? People bring up what Japan was doing, but they bring up like Pearl Harbor. How did you guys guys take over China so much? With the numbers that you guys had, how do you guys do it? Oh, you utilize biological warfare, which is like super illegal. Okay, whatever. We got Nanking. One thing they were also doing was, it was Unit 731, where they essentially took a bunch of civilians from the Korean countryside and basically subjected them to experiments that can only be described as hell on Earth. And after this happened, after World War II, wrapped up, when we beat the fuck out of Japan, oh my goodness, bro, I get in the, like, when you go into all the stuff that Japan did, and then it's like, bro, I'm sorry, I think America low-key kind of crossed the line with what they do to end the war. I'm sorry, bro. The shit that Japan got away with without any real trial, because what actually ended up happening after World War II is we were doing a lot of deals with people over the world. We helped rebuild Berlin. We helped rebuild Japan. We were trying to get some good deals for like research and like weapon design because we were competing with the Soviet Union and we were worried that the Soviet Union was going to get a lot of this, like these medical journals. Well, we ended up making deals with the people in Japan to say, hey, we won't tell the world about Unit 731, but you are going to give us all of the research from there. And this is where the conspiracy brings in. You had people here talk about Unit 731, and then you had Japan literally make it illegal to bring up, guess what, Unit 731. So, everybody's guilty, okay? I'm sorry, that's absurd. That is absurd, dude. What? No, and it was like actually illegal to have paperwork that proved that you were there, bro. I am sweating so hard right now. I'm getting into this. Yeah, bro, that's absurd. That's crazy. What? The Chiquita Banana incident. So, you ever heard the term Banana Republic? This is where that comes from. So Chiquita Banana was basically running an almost monopoly in a country in Central America. Let me actually pull this up really quick. We're going to do a cut right here. Guatemala. It was either Guatemala or Colombia. And here's the thing, dude. The reason why I'm bringing up Colombia is that Chiquita actually got found guilty and they had to pay restitutions for recruiting, and I have to get this right, Colombian get rid of your ops squads, okay? Colombian death squads that were executing enemies of Chiquita Banana. Brother, Chiquita Banana was literally running a Cyberpunk 2077 type of run back in the day, okay? What ended up happening is that they had a lot of farmland in Guatemala, damn! Guat. Oh my gosh, why am I having a stroke right now? Guatemala. Yes, Guatemala. Okay? They had a lot of land in that country. And what ended up happening is that they owned more land than the entirety of the middle and high class at that point. So they had a president in that was socialist. I don't think it's socialist to say that a corporation can't own more land than the entirety of the middle class, but whatever, maybe I'm old school. So they came in, basically said, hey, you're going to have to give up some land and you're going to have to pay people more. Chiquita Banana came in and basically said to the U.S. government, hey yo, there's communism down here. We have to get rid of them. And being like, what? It's like, so they did a lot of lobbying basically to say that Guatemala is actually becoming a communist nation. And because this was during the Cold War, the U.S. government said, hey, bro, we'll take care of this. So they essentially helped them in supporting a coup in Guatemala. And they got rid of the socialist leader in place of a more militant leader that mysteriously was very, very pro-Chiquita Banana. And then a whole bunch of union leaders mysteriously got disappeared. And Chiquita Banana was able to basically just pull off a rebrand. So Chiquita Banana got to pull off the Banana Republic. And I do got to bring this up. Chiquita Banana's game plan of how they were able to overthrow the Guatemalan government is literally the same plan that we tried to use with Cuba. So maybe Chiquita Banana had some ideas. Chiquita Banana did better at getting rid of a government than we did with Cuba. I need that to be brought up. Brother, what? And they're still around, by the way. You probably had their bananas. I gotta put it up there. That's crazy. And there you go. Those are some of the craziest conspiracy theories that turned out to be true, okay? With all that out of the way, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 250,000 subscribers before the end of the year. 500,000 before the release of GTA 6. That is the goal. And if you can help me achieve that, we'll do something cool for 500,000. And I hope to see you in the next video. Adios.